John was in a hurry. He had an important meeting on the top floor. He rushed into the elevator and pressed the button. The doors closed and the elevator began to rise. John looked at his watch. He couldn't be late. Suddenly, the elevator stopped. The lights flickered and went out. John frowned and pressed the buttons, but nothing happened. He felt the elevator shake slightly. No, 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 John muttered. He tried the emergency button. Still nothing. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. He was stuck. John pulled out his phone. No signal. He looked up at the ceiling. The elevator was very small. It felt even smaller now. Okay, think, John told himself. I have to stay calm. He tried to remember what to do in an emergency. Wait for help, he whispered. But time was running out. John looked at the small panel above. He could try to open it. He climbed onto the elevator railing and pushed the panel. It didn't move at first, but then it opened. He peeked out and saw a metal ladder. Maybe he could climb out. John hesitated. Should he try to climb? What if the elevator moved? He decided to wait a little longer. But then he heard a loud creaking sound. The elevator shifted. John held his breath. Was it falling? He felt his heart race. He knew he had to get out. He reached up and grabbed the ladder. Slowly, he pulled himself out of the elevator. He climbed carefully. His arms were tired, but he kept going. He looked up and saw a door above. Almost there, he whispered. He reached the door and pushed it open. John pulled himself through the door. He was now in a small dark space between floors. He saw another door. It led to a hallway. I need to reach it, he thought. He moved slowly, trying not to slip. His legs were shaking. When he got to the door, he pushed it hard. It didn't open. No, no, John whispered. He pushed again with all his strength. The door finally opened a little. John squeezed through the small gap. He fell onto the hallway floor, breathing heavily. I made it, he whispered. I'm out. He felt relieved. John lay on the floor for a moment, catching his breath. Then he heard voices. 2 security guards ran up to him. Are you okay? One of them asked. John nodded slowly. I'm fine, just a bit shaken, John said. You're lucky. The elevator cables almost snapped. It could have been much worse, the guard said. John's eyes widened in shock. He sat up slowly. I had no idea. Thank you for coming, he said. No problem. Let's get you checked out, the guard said. They helped John to his feet. He was finally safe. Lucy loved taking pictures of animals. She was a wildlife photographer. One evening, she stayed in the forest longer than planned. It was getting dark. Lucy looked at the sky. I need to head back, she thought. But when she turned, she realized she didn't know which way to go. All the trees looked the same. Lucy's heart started beating fast. She didn't have a flashlight. She tried to remember the way, but it was too dark now. She took a deep breath and decided to stay calm. Lucy moved carefully, trying not to trip on branches. She looked up, hoping to see the moon, but thick clouds covered the sky. She couldn't see anything. Okay, think, Lucy whispered to herself. What should I do? She decided to stay put and wait until morning. She sat down by a tree and wrapped her arms around her knees. The forest was silent. Lucy felt very alone. She heard a rustling sound nearby. She held her breath. Was it an animal? She didn't move, hoping whatever it was would go away. The sound got louder. Lucy's heart pounded. She looked around but couldn't see anything. Is someone there? She called out softly. No answer, just the sound of leaves moving. Lucy shivered. It was getting cold. She hugged herself, trying to keep warm. She wished she had a blanket. She thought of her family and hoped they were looking for her. Lucy closed her eyes, trying not to cry. Then she heard a voice. "Hello, is anyone there?" Lucy's eyes opened wide. "Yes, I'm here," she shouted. "Please, help me." Lucy stood up quickly. She saw a small light moving through the trees. A man appeared, holding a flashlight. "Are you lost?" he asked. Lucy nodded, tears in her eyes. "I didn't know where to go. Thank you for finding me," she whispered. The man smiled gently. "I got lost too. I heard your voice and came this way," he said. Lucy was surprised. "You're lost too?" she asked. "Yes, but don't worry. I have a map and a phone. Let's find our way back together." Lucy felt relieved. She wasn't alone anymore. The man showed Lucy his map. "I think we're close to the main road," he said. "We just need to head east." Lucy looked at the map and nodded. They started walking slowly. They moved carefully, stepping over roots and rocks. The man kept his flashlight pointed at the ground. Lucy felt safer now. They talked quietly as they walked. After a while, Lucy saw lights in the distance. "Look!" she shouted. "That must be the road." The man smiled. "Yes, we made it." Lucy felt happy and tired at the same time. When they reached the road, Lucy saw cars passing by. The man took out his phone and called for help. "Someone will pick us up soon," he said. Lucy sighed with relief. They waited by the side of the road. Lucy looked up at the sky. The clouds were gone now, and the moon was bright. "It's beautiful," she said softly. The man nodded. A car finally arrived. Lucy thanked the man for his help. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she said. He smiled. "We helped each other. Take care." Michael was a hard worker. He spent long hours at the office. One evening, while sitting at his desk, he felt a strange pain in his chest. He rubbed it gently. "It's just stress," Michael thought. He tried to keep working, but the pain didn't go away. It got worse. He felt dizzy. He stood up slowly, feeling weak and scared. Michael grabbed his phone and dialed for help. His hand shook as he spoke. "I think I'm having a heart attack," he said softly. The person on the line told him to sit down. "Try to stay calm," the voice said. "Help is on the way." Michael tried to breathe deeply. Sweat dripped down his face. His chest felt tight. He wondered if he would survive. He thought about his family. "I don't want to die," he whispered. He closed his eyes and leaned back in his chair. The pain was strong now, like someone squeezing his heart. Michael heard sirens in the distance. "Please hurry," he whispered. He felt himself slipping away. His body was heavy, and he couldn't move. Everything was going dark. The next thing Michael knew, he was lying in a hospital bed. He blinked slowly, trying to remember what happened. A nurse smiled at him. "You're awake," she said kindly. "What happened?" Michael asked. His voice was weak. "You had a heart attack, but we saved you just in time," she explained. Michael felt relief. He wasn't going to die. "Your heart is not very strong," the nurse said gently. "You need to take better care of yourself." Michael nodded. He knew he had to make some changes in his life now. Michael stayed in the hospital for a few more days. His family visited him, bringing flowers and gifts. "We were so worried," his wife said, holding his hand tightly. I'm sorry, Michael said softly. I should have listened to you. He knew his wife always told him not to work too much. He promised her that he would take it easy from now on. When Michael was finally allowed to go home, he felt grateful. I'm lucky to be alive, he thought. He decided to take a long break from work and focus on his health. At home, Michael made changes. He started eating healthier food and going for short walks. He also practiced breathing exercises to help him stay calm and relaxed. Sometimes he felt like going back to work, but he remembered what the nurse said. Your health comes first, he told himself. His family supported him every step of the way. One day, Michael visited his doctor for a checkup. You're doing great, the doctor said. Keep it up and your heart will get stronger. Michael smiled. He was getting better. Michael knew he had a second chance at life. He wanted to be there for his family, to see his children grow up. He promised himself he would never ignore his health again. As the months passed, Michael felt stronger. He spent more time with his family, laughing and enjoying life. He realized that work wasn't everything. Health and happiness mattered more. I'm not afraid anymore, Michael thought. I faced something scary and survived. He took a deep breath and looked at his family. He was happy. He was alive and well, and Ryan loved hiking alone. He liked the freedom and challenge of exploring new trails. One afternoon, while on a mountain ridge, he heard thunder in the distance. Ryan looked up. Dark clouds gathered above. He needed to get down fast, but the trail was narrow and slippery. He knew hiking during a storm could be dangerous. Lightning flashed across the sky. I need to find shelter, Ryan thought. He looked around, but only saw trees. He knew trees were risky in a lightning storm. What should he do? Ryan moved carefully down the trail. Thunder roared above, and rain started pouring down. He slipped on a wet rock, but caught himself. He couldn't go much farther. He noticed a big rock a little off the path. That's safer, he thought. He hurried over and crouched down beside it. He stayed low, hoping the storm would pass quickly. The rain was heavy and the wind howled. Lightning struck a tree nearby, splitting it in half. Ryan jumped. He felt his heart race. I have to stay calm, he told himself. Ryan peeked out from behind the rock. He saw broken branches scattered on the ground. The storm was strong. He wondered how long it would last. He wanted to keep moving. I can't just stay here, he thought. Ryan got up slowly. He knew staying under a rock wasn't safe forever. He needed to get to a lower area, away from the ridge. As he moved, lightning struck again, hitting another tree. He felt a shock in the air. Ryan froze for a moment. I have to be more careful, he thought. He walked cautiously. Ryan found a lower path and started walking down. The rain still poured, but the thunder wasn't as loud now. He felt a bit safer, but knew he had to keep going. He saw a small cave up ahead. That's a good spot to wait, Ryan thought. He hurried over and stepped inside. The cave was small and dark, but it was dry. He sighed in relief. Ryan sat on a rock inside the cave. He listened to the storm outside. It will be over soon, he thought. He took out some food and water from his bag, resting his tired legs. Ryan stayed in the cave until the storm calmed down. The thunder became softer, and the rain slowed. After a while, the sky began to clear. Ryan stood up and looked outside. He saw sunlight breaking through the clouds. Finally, he said, smiling. He picked up his bag and left the cave. The forest looked fresh and clean after the rain. Ryan continued his hike. He knew he needed to be more careful in the future. "I won't forget this day," he thought. He felt happy to be safe and ready for more adventures.